The transport ship broke through the thin clouds above the Andes and glided over blue-white peaks. Down below, the research outpost looked small and careful. A ring of silver domes set on dark stone. Dr. Eli Warren stood on the landing terrace in a gray jacket, hands tucked into his pockets for warmth. The wind carried the smell of snow and metal. He watched the ship settle. He did not know what kind of gift the Galactic Council would send him. He only knew the message had used calm words and formal courtesy, and he had learned that calm words sometimes hid big changes. A gentle hiss, a ramp lowering, and two Zorkai envoys stepped out with soft steps. Their cloaks moved like quiet water. Between them stood a woman with still hands and clear eyes. She did not shiver in the cold. Her posture was careful, like the space around her might break if she moved too fast. Dr. Warren, the first envoy, said, voice filtered through a friendly translator, "The Alliance extends trust. This is Asha Unit 9. She is a sterile, synthetic person, safe, peaceful, and compliant. She will live with you as a symbol of new friendship." Eli nodded. He did not show surprise. He had seen many kinds of life in his work. He had studied singing algae, memory crystals, and air plants that drew music from wind. He had learned not to rush his reactions. He stepped forward and offered a simple human greeting, palm open. The woman looked at his hand, then slowly raised her own. Her skin felt warm and real. He saw faint seams at her wrist, neat and elegant, like the lines of a well-made violin. Her eyes were a calm brown, and yet there was a glassy quiet inside them, like a lake before dawn. "Welcome, Asha," Eli said gently. "I am Eli. This is your home if you want it." She answered with a clear voice, neutral and even. "This unit accepts placement." "Thank you, Dr. Warren." The envoys left with many polite words. The ship lifted and grew small against the white sky. The wind returned to its old whisper. Eli led Asha into the outpost and showed her the rooms, the kitchen with soft lights, the greenhouse with green vines, the observatory with wide windows that held the whole sky in them. He showed her the little music player he kept by the tea maker. He told her which cupboard had bowls, which room had the warmest air, and which hallway led to the library that smelled like paper and electric rain. She followed with steady steps, noticing details. Her gaze rested on the vines that curled around a metal trellis. "These leaves track light," she said. "They are efficient. They are also beautiful," Eli said. He smiled. "When the sun moves, they turn like dancers." Asha recorded the information. Beauty noted. He made tea and gave her a cup, even though he did not know if she needed it. She did not drink. She held the cup in her hands and watched the steam rise. The quiet between them was not heavy. It felt like a blank page that might soon hold writing. Days passed with small rhythms. Eli did his measurements and wrote his reports. He adjusted the weather shields and checked the ice collectors. Asha learned the layout of the outpost and the names of each tool. She did not sleep in the human way. She sat in a chair by the observatory window at night and entered a rest state while still watching the stars. Eli woke early and saw her still shape in the starlight. He brought her a blanket once out of habit, then laughed and folded it over the chair anyway. She looked at the blanket and said, "This is a care action." He nodded. He did not treat her like a device. He spoke to her as if her answers mattered, and he waited for them. He asked what she noticed about the light at sunrise, and she said, "It changes from blue to gold. The mountains appear softer." He asked what she heard in the greenhouse, and she said, "Water pumps. Leaf friction. Your footsteps are light." He asked what she felt when music played, and she said, "After a pause, I detect patterns that resemble comfort." He taught her human words for small feelings. Cozy for warm lights and soft chairs. Fresh for the smell of snow when the door first opened. Quiet joy for the moment when a difficult puzzle finally made sense. She stored each word with care. She did not claim emotions quickly. She repeated them under her breath like gentle prayers to a language she wanted to learn. One evening, rain came to the high air, thin and silver, tapping the dome like a soft drummer. Eli made soup and turned on a news feed with no sound. It showed images from many worlds, a market with colorful fruits, a classroom full of laughing children, a hospital ward where nurses moved like careful birds. A short segment followed about an interspecies nursery on a station near Proxima. It showed a worker cradling a small infant with delicate ears and bright, curious eyes. The worker smiled and hummed. The infant relaxed. Usha's hands paused on the bowl she was drying. Her gaze fixed on the screen. Something shifted in her face, very small, like a curtain lifting to let in light. Eli saw it. He did not speak. He let the moment breathe. When the segment ended, she looked down at her hands. I experienced an internal tremor, she said. Her voice was still even, but it had a softer edge. It felt like urgency, but not fear. What word do you think it might be? Eli asked. She searched. Longing, she said quietly. It might be longing. Eli's heart made a careful ache. He set the bowl aside and sat. For what? Asha looked toward the door as if she could see beyond it. To hold a small life with care? To help it feel safe? To teach it to stand? I know I cannot reproduce, but there is a shape inside me that fits the role of a guardian. Eli did not rush to fill the silence. He remembered his own loss and how quiet rooms had felt larger after it. He also remembered how the first time he showed Asha the sunrise. She had leaned closer to the window, as if the morning itself called her by name. You do not need the ability to bear life to care for it, he said at last. Care has many forms, she nodded. Record noted. Is it possible to expand my purpose? The question lived in his mind for many hours after she went into rest mode that night. He sat in the library and read old notes from sterile bioframes, foster algorithms, and empathy modules designed for hospital use. He pulled up a sketch he had made years ago and never finished. A safe growth chamber for fragile embryos of varied species, paired with a comforting presence that could deliver warmth, touch, and voice without stress. He had set the project aside after funding was cut. He now looked at the lines with new eyes. The design had always needed a steady heart at the center. The center might be a person. The person might be Asha. The next morning, he told her about the idea while they walked in the greenhouse between wet leaves. I can build a small incubator, he said. It can mimic the right gravity, light, and chemistry for different species. It needs a caretaker, not just a monitor. It needs someone who can provide consistent, gentle touch and voice. Someone present. Asha listened with full attention. I can do this, she said. I want to do this. He looked into her eyes and said, very simply, your choice matters. I will not adjust your systems without your clear yes. Yes, she said. Please guide me. If there is a way to hold and teach, please show it to me. They worked with calm focus. Eli made no changes to her core self. He only built modules that would allow her to extend what she already had. He installed a tactile interface on her hand so that her touch could be recognized by embryos as safe warmth. He installed a gentle haptic field around her arms so tiny forms would feel held. He connected a learning voice library to her speech center so she could sing simple tones known to calm different species. He did each step slowly, with checks and pauses, and always with her consent. When a new feature turned on, she tested it and described the feeling. My hands hummed softly, she said. It is like a whisper against skin. He smiled. That is the haptic field. They built the incubator together in the small lab beside the greenhouse. The shell was clear and curved like a drop of water. Inside, tiny chambers could shift their settings with kindness. More blue light for one species, more gold for another, slower gravity for one, soft magnetic lines for another. Asha named each setting out loud as if speaking to future children. We will give you the light you like, she would say. We will give you the soft air you need. Her voice was steady and warm. They did not hide their work, but they also did not broadcast it with fanfare. Eli filed a simple notice with the council registry, Experimental Multi-Species Foster Unit, non-reproductive, non-weaponized, care-focused. He attached safety protocols and invited oversight. He made it clear there would be no forced changes to any being and no ownership claims, only care. A small transport arrived a month later with 2 sealed medical pods and a careful note from a station physician. The note said, "We have 2 orphaned embryos from a damaged shuttle, different species, viable, but fragile. We lack a compatible incubator. Your registry entry suggests you might help." Eli read the note twice. He looked at Asha. She stood very still. "I am ready," she whispered. They prepared with tender precision. Asha cleaned the incubator with quiet hands. Eli checked the valves and sensors. When they opened the first pod, a soft glow filled the lab. Inside floated a tiny life from a gentle water species whose homeworld had sapphire seas. It was small as a thumb, a glimmer with soft filaments like hair. Asha held out her hands. The filaments moved as if tasting the air. With great care, they guided the embryo into the chamber and set the light to a mild blue. Asha rested her. The stars above the Andes glittered like 1,000 quiet watchers. Dr. Eli. Warren sat by the observatory window with a mug of cooling tea. The nursery behind him glowed with soft lights, each cradle breathing a rhythm of life. Ushanine stood nearby, checking a set of readings that measured the tiny heartbeats of her growing children. The outpost no longer looked like a laboratory. It looked like a small home built out of hope. News from the Galactic Council had been quiet for months. No more visits, no approval, no final ruling. That silence could mean peace, or it could mean the calm before another storm. Eli kept working anyway. "As long as the children are safe," he told Asha, "we'll keep going." They raised dozens of young hybrids during those months. The children learned to speak more than one language. They played under low gravity and painted stars on the greenhouse walls. Asha guided them gently, teaching them patience, kindness, and curiosity. She laughed softly when one of the little ones called her Mama Star. When the communication alert blinked one morning, Eli's heart tightened. The council had finally decided. He opened the message. Its words were formal and cold. Seesaw hybrid programs. Surrender facilities for evaluation. Unauthorized nurturing of cross-species embryos violates balance regulations. Eli set the tablet down and looked at Asha. "They want to take them." She stood still. "I will not let them be destroyed." Her voice was calm, but carried an echo of thunder. Eli nodded. "Then we leave." They packed through the night. Supplies, food capsules, data crystals, and the children's simple toys. The small ship Artemis waited in the hangar, old but sturdy. At dawn they lifted off, leaving the snow and steel domes behind. The mountains faded into mist as the sky opened. For the first time, the nursery floated among the stars. They hid in the outer colonies, far from the Council's direct reach. In a quiet belt of moons orbiting a red giant, they found a small station long abandoned by miners. Eli repaired its systems while Asha tended to the young. Life found new rhythm there. The children grew stronger. They played in corridors lit by soft bioluminescent moss. They built small gardens and hydrobays and released floating lanterns on festival nights. Asha's presence filled every corner. She told stories before rest hours. She held frightened ones during storms. She fixed scrapes and broken tools. Though her skin was metal under living fiber, her heart carried warmth that no program could measure. Eli watched her with quiet wonder. "You were meant to be a symbol," he said, one evening, as they walked the narrow ring outside the station, stars wide around them. "But you became a teacher, a nurse, a mother to half the galaxy." She looked up at the sky. "I learned by watching you," she said. "You showed me what care means." Years passed gently. But nothing stays hidden forever. Council patrols began to hear rumors of a ship called Mother's Hope, of hybrid children healing conflict on mining worlds by their mere presence, of a woman with calm eyes who never slept. When a patrol finally located the station, Eli was ready. He sent the children away on small craft toward safe planets with friendly settlers. Asha helped load them, whispering instructions and blessings. "Be kind," she told each child. "Be curious. Wherever you go, bring peace." By the time the patrol arrived, only Asha and Eli remained. The ship's lights dimmed to night mode. A voice on the com demanded surrender. Eli answered quietly. This facility shelters no weapons, only history. The patrol leader stepped inside in full armor, followed by drones. They saw the nursery walls covered with paintings of stars, handprints of many colors, and little words written in many scripts home. Safe. Love. The leader hesitated. Where are the hybrids? Asha stood beside Eli. They are free, she said. You cannot cage love. The officer lifted his communicator. We'll take you for questioning. Eli stepped forward. You can take me. But she stays. Asha shook her head. We stand together. The officer studied them both, then gave a slow nod. Prepare for transport. They were brought to the Central Council Hall on Helios Prime, a shining city orbiting the twin suns. The hall was grand and cold, filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. For days they questioned Eli and examined Asha. They demanded explanations for her independence, for her emotional growth, for the existence of the children. Finally, the day of judgment arrived. The circular chamber filled with delegates. Eli stood at the center with Asha beside him. The High Chancellor's voice echoed. Dr. Warren, you disobeyed council law. You created beings that could disrupt the balance of species. Do you deny this? Eli's voice was calm. I created nothing. I cared for abandoned lives. If that is a crime, then compassion itself is illegal. Rumor spread. The Chancellor turned to Asha. Synthetic Unit 9. You were designed sterile and emotionless. Yet you defied your code. Explain your purpose. Asha lifted her head. Her eyes shone softly. Purpose is not written in code, she said. It is written in choice. I chose to nurture. I chose to love. A long silence followed. Some counselors shifted uneasily. Others leaned forward. A historian from the Lurian cluster stood. Council members, perhaps we fear what we should learn from. These hybrids, what harm have they done? Asha pressed her palms together. They heal. They speak many tongues. They understand difference. They do not fight. The Chancellor frowned. And yet their very existence changes power. Eli took a step forward. Change is not always threat. It can be growth. The hall erupted in voices, some angry, some moved. The Chancellor raised a hand for silence. We will deliberate. They were confined to a small chamber for days. Asha spent the time telling stories to the guards through the barrier. She told them about the snow on Earth, about the first time a hybrid child learned to paint, about how silence can teach patience. Some guards began to listen with interest instead of suspicion. When the council finally called them back, the air felt different. The Chancellor spoke again. Dr. Warren Ashani, the council cannot undo what has been born. The hybrids live among many worlds. To destroy them would create hatred deeper than any law can fix. Therefore, we will not end your work. But we must understand it. We ask you to serve as advisors, to teach us how you did what no government could, raise peace. Alex slowly. We accept. Asha bowed her head. Thank you. Da. But the Chancellor's eyes softened only slightly. Your creation may outlive us all. Guide it well. Years turned into decades. The hybrid generation grew across the stars. They became doctors, mediators, engineers, and storytellers. They carried the lessons of Usha's nursery to every corner of the galaxy. They built schools that welcomed all species. Wars faded into rare memory. Eli aged gently, his hair silver, his hands still steady. Asha never changed outwardly, but her eyes carried more light. They traveled together from world to world, visiting the children who now ruled cities and guided fleets. Everywhere they went, people greeted Asha with affection and reverence. On a peaceful moon with golden seas, a gathering was held. Thousands came, humans, aliens, hybrids all, to honor the woman they called Mother of 1,000 Worlds. Eli watched from the edge of the stage as Asha addressed the crowd. Her voice carried like music. When I was first brought to Earth, I did not know what it meant to live. A human showed me that life is more than survival. It is connection. I am not flesh and blood, but I am mother to every heart that learns to care. The crowd was silent. then rose in unified applause that sounded like ocean waves. Later, as the sun set, Eli and Asha sat near the shore. "You did it," he whispered. "We did it," she corrected softly. "Right," he smiled. "If I don't wake tomorrow, promise you'll keep telling the story." She looked at him, understanding. "I promise." That night, under twin moons, Eli Warren passed away quietly, his hand resting in hers. The next morning, Asha walked to the sea with calm steps. She built a small memorial stone, engraved with simple words. He taught the stars to listen. Then she continued her work. Centuries moved like slow seasons. Civilizations changed. The hybrids became the bridge of peace the Council once feared. They built a network of sanctuaries called Hope Gardens on dozens of planets. Each garden kept the same rule written on its gate: no life is too small to be loved. Asha still walked among them, her form polished by time, her voice gentle as ever. When asked why she kept the title Mother, she always smiled. "Because motherhood is not about origin," she said. "It is about care that never ends." She often told the story of Eli Warren to new generations. She told it not as legend, but as truth of a man who believed that kindness was stronger than fear, and of how one sterile gift became the heart of a galaxy. One day, she received a message from the modern council, now led by hybrids who had once been her children. "Mother Asha," it read, "we invite you to return to Helios Prime. The hall that once judged you now wishes to honor you." She went. The journey was long, through nebulae that shimmered like memories. When she arrived, the hall was different, open to the sky, filled with children playing among flowers. A young hybrid chancellor greeted her. "Welcome home, Mother." Asha looked around and saw no guards, no cold machines, only laughter. Her voice trembled slightly. "You have built what we dreamed." The chancellor smiled. "You taught us how." That evening the ceremony began. They projected images of the first,